introduce and thank Rabbi Zuber for volunteering his time and sharing with us his knowledge and learning and wisdom. And as we'll be learning with him over the next number of weeks, getting ready for Shavuos. Some people here, I know for sure some people here know Rabbi Zuber well, and maybe some young Israel members know him. He's a born and bred Bostonian, right? Correct, Rabbi Zuber?
That's correct.
Right. But maybe some people in the community don't know him. I've had the great zechus to get to know Rabbi Zuber a little bit, and he's a very special, unique person, other than being a Talmud Chacham in Halacha, as we'll learn. He obviously has great learning and knowledge in Chassidus and all different kinds of Chassidus, and he has many skills and talents. He is a sofer. He is a composer and a musician. I'm sure there are many other things that I don't know about Rabbi Zuber. And he is a true chassid in all the best sense of the word, and also, as I just mentioned, a true Bostonian, which is he's not the only person who has that mix, but not so many people in the world have that mix. So that's it provides a very special perspective, and I'm sure that everyone here is going to learn a lot from Rabbi Zuber, whether or not this is actually really your first time ever learning Chassidus, or if not actually your first time. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. As I've mentioned in other classes, the goals of these classes and these shurim are to learn, to be a way to prepare for Shavuos, and also in this time of not being able to interact as we used to, be a way for people to see each other, maybe meet new people in the community, and we hope it'll be successful in that regard also. I'm going to stay on certainly as long as I can. I'm going to give it over to Rabbi Zuber in just a minute, but one thing I'd like the group to discuss before you all sign off at the end, I'd prefer the class not to conflict with Mincha Marav at Young Israel, our Zoom Mincha Marav. So everything's getting 10 minutes later. So next week, Marv will end at 8:25. So the group can decide if either you want to start 10 minutes later at 8:25 and learn for 45 minutes, or learn before Mincha, because Mincha will be at 7:50. You could learn at 7 o'clock if Rabbi Zuber is available. The truth is, I apologize, I didn't check with Rabbi Zuber's availability. Yeah, but I'll let all of you learn, and then at the end, hopefully someone will remember just to decide, do you want to, as Mincha gets later, do you want to move to before Mincha, or is it okay just to start 5-10 minutes later each week? Okay, so with that, I will turn it over to the Rabbi, Rabbi Zuber.
Good evening. I want to inform Rabbi Hellman about one other fact, that we joined the Young Israel back in Tafshin Tezvav, that's 1955 on the secular calendar. So not only am I born and bred Bostonian, but we've been with the Young Israel for a long, long time. And thank you very much for this opportunity, Rabbi Hellman. So this evening, we're going to start with the concept of Simcha. The three topics of Simcha, which is joy, happiness, more or less, not a great translation. Hashgacha Prat is divine providence, as well as Avos Yisrael, the love of the fellow Yid. They actually all do interconnect, but I'm going to concentrate this evening on Simcha. We know that Simcha is something that's, in a sense, mandated by the Torah itself, because there's a pasuk that says, it's towards the end of the Torah, or towards the end of the list of blessings, or blessings and curses in Parshas Kisavai, and the pasuk says, "Tachas asher lo yavadatas Hashem alekecha, simchu v'tuv levav meroiv koil." Because you have not served Hashem, your God, or your Lord, as the case may be, with simcha, which is, again, we're translating it as happiness, and a tuv levav, a good heart, meiroiv koil. So Rashi translates meiroiv koil, meaning that you have an abundance of goodness, and in spite of having all of this abundance of goodness, you have not served Hashem with this joy and with this happiness. The Arizal translates that you didn't serve Hashem with simcha and tuv levav, with a happiness and a good heart, more than if you would have received a roiv koil, an abundance of goodness. So imagine that you get a phone call and it's not a scam, that you actually won the lottery. You have now $50 million in your account. You'll be overjoyed. And that's how you need to serve Hashem. You need to have that great joy. That's how the Ari learns it. And this is the basis for the various svarim, the various teachings that we have as to the basis of the necessity of simcha as part and parcel of serving Hashem. The question is, what exactly is simcha and what is it not? So I'm going to quote from Shulchan Aruch over here, if anybody wants the exact source reference. It's Eirech Chaim, Tov Kuf Chof Tes. Shulchan Aruch is paraphrasing the Rambam just because of time constraints. I'm not going to go into all of the minutiae of details, but we're dealing here with the halachas of how one is supposed to celebrate Yom Tov. And the Shulchan Aruch says that a person is obligated to eat and to drink and to rejoice on the Yom Tov and not be drawn after meat and wine and frivolous laughter or lightheadedness, because this type of behavior, the schoik in Kalas Reish, is not called simcha. That's not how the Torah defines simcha. Because this is called heilelos and sichlus. This is called like a wildness and a foolishness. And this is not what the Torah has commanded us. Torah has commanded us to rejoice in serving Hashem. So what do you do? So the Shulchan Aruch, again, paraphrasing the Rambam, says that a person is obligated to be with a sameach v'toiv leiv. Paraphrase from the pasuk that we started with. You have to rejoice and have a good heart. He and his wife and his children and all those that are connected to him. The children, you give out basically popcorn and nuts, kloyes and agoizim, things to keep them happy, things to keep them entertained. The person's wife, you should buy her new clothes and new jewelry according to one's capability and wealth. And one is obligated to see to it that the ger, the stranger that is converted to Judaism, the orphan, the widow, and here I'm just going to parenthetically throw in that even if the orphan or the widow are independently wealthy, there's still a mitzvah to invite them to your table because they're missing some family member. The Yosem either doesn't have a mother or a father or neither parent. The Almana, the widow is missing her husband, and even if they have money, but they don't have that same human contact that they had before things got lost, before they lost their loved ones, together with other poor people. So effectively, again, without going into all of the minute proofs, what the Shulchan Aruch is saying over here is to have a simcha is what can I give as opposed to what can I get. The heidelos, the sichlis, the wildness, the foolishness, the lack of seriousness, the kalas roish. This is all, what do I get out of it? Not what do I have to give, or what should I be giving. True simcha comes about by giving. What is it that I have that I can share with others? So how do we reach this state of simcha? How do we learn how to give? Now, understand that when we're talking here about giving, and we have guests at our table, not people that necessarily don't have the means to support themselves, an orphan, a widow. How do we make them feel part and parcel of the family, not like they're a charity case, that we're doing them a favor? Because that's not what it means to give. To give means that they feel that they are somebody important in our lives, that if they wouldn't be at our table, we would feel that something is missing. They're the center of attention, in a sense. So in order to understand how to reach this state of true simcha, I have to give a little bit of an introduction. A person has two souls. Again, because of time constraints, I'm not going to be able to go into all of the details. But the soul is made up of 5 parts. We're dealing here with the lowest of those 5 parts. The person, when he's born, is born with what's called a nefesh bahamis, an animal-like soul. When a person reaches age of bar mitzvah at 13 or bas mitzvah at 12, they get a nefesh elokis, a divine soul. An animal soul is not evil. An animal soul is intrinsically self-centered. And a child, when he or she is born, is by definition self-centered. The child pays no attention to the fact that they're going to eat every 2 or 3 hours or every 4 hours. When they're hungry, they're waking up their mother and they're eating. And there's no thought of time or anything else. And the child needs to be self-centered, because otherwise the child won't survive. The child is growing at a very, very fast rate and needs to have the nourishment. Without the sense of self-centeredness, I need to eat and I need to eat now, not getting anywhere. Matter of fact, it'll be fatal for the child. It's up to the parents to train the child, similar to the way that a person needs to train an animal, because if the child is not trained or the animal is not trained, then left unchecked, this animal soul turns into a Yetzer Hara, turns into an evil type of energy. The Nefesh Elokis, the divine soul that comes in, as I said, at Bar Mitzvah or Bas Mitzvah, if that's left unchecked, the person doesn't function too well in this world either, because that soul wants to cling to divinity because that's its source. Doesn't want to have anything to do with this world. That soul needs to be trained to use this world in order to serve Hashem. And as the Medrash says, the purpose of creation was to make a dwelling place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a dwelling place for God in this world. So we need to use this world. But the divine soul, the Nefesh Elokis, needs to be trained for that. As a person grows older and hopefully more mature and more wise, the more subtle is their sense of self-centeredness. Person can be a very nice person, but nonetheless, they can connect to what's called taivas. They can have certain desires and wants, which could be sometimes overpowering, sometimes just annoying to others. I remember that my Rosh Yeshiva, Zatzal, Reb Shlomo Freifeld, once gave a shmooze. He didn't like Madison Avenue, the concept of advertising. He gave a shmooze. He was talking about an advertisement for a potato chip that bet you can't eat one. And he said, you know what this advertisement is saying? That you, if you take one potato chip, you become enslaved. You have to have at least another one, and another one, and another one. It says you're becoming enslaved to a dead, fried potato. Think about it. That's what you're becoming enslaved to, a dead, fried potato. We went and bought a bag of those potato chips, and everybody in the yeshiva had exactly one potato chip. And nobody nobody died of lack of a second potato chip. But this is what it means, that a person winds up with my favorite food is, and doesn't care what it's costing others for him to get his favorite food. Person eats in order to be healthy. Person eats so they should have the energy to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what's important. And that takes many, many years of developing giving of oneself, of learning how to care about somebody else even more than they care about themselves. There's an expression among Chassidim that my piece of bread, my shtickle broit, my piece of bread is yours like it's mine, with the stress on yours before mine. I have something, it's to share. So what do we do with this nefesh habahamis? What do we do with this animal soul? So there are those that are of the opinion that in order to control the animal soul, you have to break it. And these were people that were very much into fasting, into rolling in the snow, going into self-imposed exile, to break the body. And that's how you control the body. the Torah gives us one day a year where we show we have self-control. It's called Yom Kippurim. We don't eat, we don't drink. We, as it says in the Pasuk, we have an inui, we have a self-affliction. The Torah gives us one day that we need to show that we control the food doesn't control us. And there were those that pushed it and did all sorts of things to break the body. They deprived themselves of sleep, of food, of everything. The Ba'al Shem Tov did not like this. The truth of the matter is, we already find this in the Rambam. The Rambam says in Hilchos Deis that a person needs to be healthy in order to serve Hashem properly. Person needs to eat properly, to drink properly, to sleep properly. So he doesn't give recipes specifically. I personally am not a nutritionist, so I'm not going to give any recipes here either. But a person needs to do things in a prim and proper way. You need to make sure that what you're eating, besides that it's kosher, that it's healthy, that it's appropriate, that it's proper. So the Ba'al Shem Tov, one of the things that the Ba'al Shem Tov points out is Ezehu Gibur, who is considered a strong person, not a weightlifter, somebody that has a self-control. Says the Mishnah, HaKoivesh es Yitzroi, one that conquers his Yetzer, that conquers his inclination. So the Ba'al Shem Tov points out, it doesn't say he breaks, doesn't say Shoiver es Yitzroi, that he breaks his inclination. It says that he conquers it, he works with it, he takes it, and shows that he, the person, is the boss and not the item of the taiva, not the item of the lust, not the food and not the drink, and not in the middle of davening answering a cell phone because you're the most important person in the universe. I know, Baruch Hashem, we have many doctors that are davening. Well, nobody's davening in a shul now, but there are doctors, I understand if they need to answer the phone. But there are people that don't realize that this is just a gaiva. This is just plain simple haughtiness on their part. I'm so important, God, that whoever's calling me is more important than my communicating with you during davening. Not a good thing. This is all types of, in a certain way, addictions, a certain way, lack of self-control. So the Ba'al Shem Tov says that we need to koivesh, we need to conquer the Yetzer. There's another teaching of the Ba'al Shem Tov that if you see the donkey of your enemy, now who's your enemy? Your enemy is the Yetzer Hara, that evil inclination. Can't be, the Gemara says, who's an enemy? Can't be a non-Jew because that's not the halacha. Can it be a Jew? Also very difficult to say because you can't hate your brother in your heart. So who's your enemy? Somebody that at the moment you're not getting along with. Chassidus says, this is your Yetzer Hara. Really, you should get along with the Yetzer Hara. You need to control the Yetzer Hara. Because the Mishnah says, you should love Hashem with all your heart. It doesn't say libcha, it says levavecha. with your Yetzer Tov, with your good inclination, and the Yetzer Hara. You need to use the Yetzer Hara in a positive sense. But he's not always your best friend. So that's your enemy. That chamor, that donkey, is also related etymologically to the word chomer, to the physicality. The physicality is attracting. Physicality is what's making the person want to do things, but things that are not in accordance with Torah and mitzvahs. So, what are you supposed to do? You're not supposed to walk away. It's aziv taziv imay. Work with the physicality. Learn how to take the physicality and develop it in a positive way. The person is blessed with a home. In his home, he has a family. The neighbor next door is a widow, is an orphan. Share your family. You've been blessed. It's yours like mine. The piece of bread is yours like mine. Share it. God gave you this. You might not have a lot of food on the table, but you have a loving family. Bring somebody in. Make them part of the family. Make them feel that they're as important to you as everybody else that's sitting at that table. Don't ignore your children at the expense of a guest, but at the same time, the guest should feel part and parcel of what's going on. Now, the Ba'al Shem Tov brings down something even more powerful. Not only when you're doing an actual mitzvah is a simcha important, but we need to appreciate all that which Hashem does for us. And there are two passages. One is a Maimer Chazal, Kol Ma'asecha Yiyu L'Shem Shemayim, that all of your deeds should be for the sake of heaven. Points out the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Nach Mendel Shneis in a blessed memory, that this is not an immediate consequence. I'm eating or I'm going to sleep in order to have the energy, in order to have the rest that I need in order to be able to serve God. So I'm eating now or I'm sleeping now in order that at some future point, I'll be able to serve God. And the Ba'al Shem Tov says, I need to appreciate that which Hashem has given me. I need to appreciate that. Thank you, Hashem, I have food on my table. Thank you, Hashem, that I have a bed to put my head down on. And the Ba'al Shem Tov says that there's something even more powerful than that. The pasuk that states, B'chol drochecha de'ehu. In all your ways, you should know Him. That's with a capital H. You should know Hashem. That means everything and anything that happens to the person is a gift from Hashem. That in Yitz Hashem will discuss greater detail next week, the Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence. But when the person sits down and realizes that there is some food on the table, be it a lot, be it a little, thank you, Hashem, for this piece of food. This is a roiv koil. This is an abundance of goodness. Thank you so much. I'm very happy. And 5 minutes later, I have something to drink. Thank you, Hashem, for the drink. Everything that's happening to the person is a gift. And that gift is an abundance of goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides. And Hashem, you gave me food that I can share with my next door neighbor, the orphan, the widow, the ger, the stranger, the ani, the poor person. Hashem, thank you so, so much for enabling me to have this opportunity to share. Walk down the street. Okay, it's difficult now because people are wearing masks. But smile at somebody. That's a gift. Thank you, Hashem. And when I walked down the street, I saw somebody that I could smile at. I can give. This is what enables true simcha. This is what enables the person to have true joy in their life. Technically speaking, from a halachic perspective, a proper translation of simcha is euphoria. Not the clinical translation, but a state of intense joy, a state of just being overwhelmed with goodness. And when a person walks down the street, now you have some nice weather, and you look and you see the grass, you see the trees starting to bloom, you see flowers. Thank you, Hashem, for providing me with such a beautiful world. The world could have been black and white. There's no reason other than to enable me to appreciate how great HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, that he created this world with such an abundant beauty. There's a story, was a yeshiva bacher that was learning in Yerushalayim, an American boy, a well-to-do young man, and he was sent to the house of a Yerushalmi Yid that had volunteered together with others to take bachurim from this particular yeshiva for various Shabbosim. So he comes to the person's house and he feels a little awkward because the furniture is a few different types of chairs, it's a nice table, kind of, but he realizes it's basically a huge piece of plywood that's banged onto some smaller tables to accommodate the family and the guests. The food is good, and he's trying to figure out at some point how can he show his appreciation. He couldn't just hand them money because it's not a proper thing to do. Shavuos was coming around, and he had a fantastically great idea. He asked the parents, would they mind if he brought some ice cream for the children for Shavuos? Because milchiks is something that is accustomed to have on Shavuos. And he figured ice cream is probably a luxury that they very rarely have. And the parents said, if you want to bring some ice cream, it's fine. So this fellow goes, gets 2 gallons of ice cream. He comes into the house and he says, I have a present for you children. And he takes out this 2-gallon pail of ice cream. The children take one look and they scatter. They run out of the house, like through the back door, through the front door. And this fellow is like beyond embarrassed. What did he do wrong? I mean, the kids are mamish, like they're like crazy. They're running out of the house. And he's in a sense devastated. All of a sudden, every kid is coming back with a half a dozen friends. We have ice cream to share. This bacher said that he learned one of the most important lessons in his life. The kids did not, let's eat ice cream and then invite friends. No, no, no. We have something that we're able to share. First thing is, we got to get all our friends. The house is jam-packed with children, and everybody got ice cream. He said that lesson was one of the most powerful lessons that he ever learned while he was in Eretz Yisrael. And this is true simcha. I don't think any one of those children that ran out of the house was thinking, rats, I've got to go get my friends, unfortunately, to share with them because it's not nice if I don't, but I could have had more ice cream. No, they ran out because they understood what true simcha really is, that you have to share. And it's ultimately, b'chol d'rechecha de'ehu. In all your ways, you should know Hashem. That we should be able to share the abundance of goodness that we have. And it's not just physical. Not just physical. As I said, walking down the street with a smile and getting somebody to smile back doesn't cost a penny, but it's very important. Very important to be sensitive to the difficulties that people are having nowadays and try to say something to cheer people up. I don't usually like to tell stories about myself, but I'll tell one fast little story. Last week or a week and a half ago, I had to go to CVS to pick up 4 prescriptions for my wife. And the CVS is across the street. And the same fellow that takes care of us almost all the time. And he looked very overworked, and they have the plastic shields and the distancing and everything else. And he asks me, do you have any questions about these prescriptions? And I said to him, no, I don't have any questions. These are my wife. This is just refills for my wife. But I do have a question on my own. And he looks, he says, yes, what's your question? I said, if everybody is wearing a mask, how do you tell the good guys from the bad guys? And under his mask, I could see a big smile, and that probably made his day. He gave me some sort of an answer as to how you tell the difference. But what did it cost? Nothing. But he felt better, even if it was just for a moment. That's what the inyan of simcha is. You have an opportunity to try to make somebody feel better, to share something. You're feeling good, share it with somebody else. Okay, Rabbi Hellman asked for a consensus what to do next week. To me, it doesn't make a difference one way or another, whether we start at 7 till 7:45 or we start at 8:25 till 9:10. So if people would like to let me know what they want, if we can take care of it now, would be fine. Anybody have any preference?
Oh, you write it in the chat. I would prefer to do what we're doing now and just keep on moving it. I don't know about the other people. How are we gonna vote?
People get off of mute so we can hear people. We can hear the vote.
I am muted.
I would go for 8:25.
You want 8:25? Okay.
Following Mariv.
We can raise, you can raise the hand by using the symbol on the bottom right.
I don't know.
You can raise it up or raise it down.
What is that?
I don't see any symbol here.
Reactions.
This is
Okay, so, I don't know where that one is. All right, so far we have like after Ma'ariv. Does anybody have, okay, Mr. Sherman wants after Ma'ariv. So far, I don't hear anybody that wants anything other than after my roof.
I prefer after my Rabbi.
Okay, fine. So then we'll make it 8:25 in Hashem for next week. Next week we'll be doing after my roof. Okay, that's another one for after my roof. So Hashem next week we'll do Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, and as I said, this all ties in. All three are ultimately interrelated.
May I ask a question?
Sure, by all means.
I'm wondering if the development of the neshama is due to God or it's automatic in a human being.
One second, you're a little not clear. Can you say the question again, please?
You said that at 13 or 12 people have something beyond the bestial neshama. They get one that has more dust. Is that automatic, or is it a question of the mental development?
Basically, it's automatic. When the person reaches 13, then unless the person is showing signs of mental deficiency, in other words, what would be called a shoita, there's an automatic receiving of the nefesh elikis, of this divine soul, because if for example, by a young gentleman, he can be counted for a minyan, then it's because he has this divine soul. There is a little bit of a discussion, which is a little bit beyond the scope of the Shia now, but the basic answer to your question is that it's automatic, 12 for a girl and 13 for a boy, that they get the nefesh elikis.
And the next stages similarly are automatic?
What?
Are the next stages also automatic?
The next stages?
So there are 5 madrigot.
No,
Where's
5 madrigas. It's only the nefesh habahamas and nefesh elikis that we're dealing with. The other madrigas, for example, ruach is throughout the person's entire life. That's the life force that's inside the person, and the neshama is the connecting point between the person and God, and then there's 2 higher points, which again is like at the moment beyond the scope of the Shia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did anybody else have a question? I saw Jacqueline here that the name showed up. Okay. Did you have a question?
No.
No. Okay. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, Hashem will meet next week after Ma'ariv at 8:25. Good night, everybody.